Hello, everyone. I believe I am online, but of course, once again, I have started the stream without bringing up the chat. Seems like I'd have a checklist for this kind of stuff at this point, but I do not. How's everyone doing? I hope you've had a chance to practice today. We're going to be talking about the new SE Shires Q20. I did a video on that a few weeks ago, although it was a little rushed because I was a little pressed for time when doing that live stream. So I wanted to do another one, and we're going to be comparing the Q20 against the Hans Hoyer G10. Now, for the last several videos, I've been starting right off with playing, but last week I did a comparison between the Kind 8D and the Yamaha 672 and figured out that the audio wasn't working after I played both horns. And I compared both horns later on in the video, but I had far fewer eyes on it because the video starts off with muted French horn playing. So I decided that I do kind of need to start these off with a little bit of talking, just to allow people to get into the room, see that the live stream is happening, and for me to just check to see if the mics are working and chat is working and that everything is up that needs to be up. Now, let me find... Okay, looks like we're getting some people in now. So I'm going to go ahead and compare the two horns. First, I'm going to play some Mozart, and I'll compare the horns back to back on that. And I will play the Hans Hoyer G10 first. And this is the Shires Q20. So I think in the comparison of my initial feedback of comparing the two horns on the Mozart, is that to me it felt that the Shires Q20 had a bigger, darker sound. The valves on the Shires definitely feel better than the Hoyer, although the Hoyer valves feel really good in and of themselves. But I also just felt more freedom playing the Shires on just that excerpt. In a moment, I'll play another excerpt. I'm going to turn the temperature down in the room here because I'm getting a little hot. Okay. And now I'll play Till Eulenspiegel on both horns. Starting with the Hans Hoyer G10 again, and then moving on to the Shires Q20. And then the Shires Q20. To me, to me, playing those two horns, I felt that um, the Q20 had a bit more edge in the sound, especially when I played the loud low notes, while the G10 kept the roundness of the sound together a bit more through everything. I'm not sure which one I prefer between those two. And of course, if anyone has an opinion as to which horn you liked, please go ahead and leave a comment in the chat, or leave a comment under the video if you're not catching this live. You know, I'll play one more piece. I'll play a lyrical piece on both horns. Again, starting with the G10 and moving on to the Shires Q20. Sorry about that little pause in the middle of playing those two. especially the last one. I looked over and it's like, wait, did I turn the mic on? And I took a second to look to make sure I turned on the room mic instead of the speaking mic. Also, I hate to make excuses for myself, but I normally play standing in B flat, and I've left both of these horns in F. So my brain is kind of working overtime to make sure I don't flop the horns around. On that comparison, I really like the Shires better. The Shires just sounded fuller, a little richer. Yeah, I really liked the sound of the Shires on that. If you want to hear another excerpt, just let me know in the chat. And if I know it, I will play it and compare it on both horns. So let's take a look at the specs of these horns. So these are both Geyer style horns. The Q20 takes on in all picture. The Q20 is an all brass configuration, so that means the slides and the slide legs are in full yellow brass. And the Hans Hoyer G10, the slide legs and the slide tubes are all in nickel silver. So the nickel silver will help with wear because nickel silver is a harder metal, which is why those parts are generally made out of nickel silver on a horn. But for many people, there is a big sound advantage to having the entire horn be made out of yellow brass. One of the unique things about the Shires Q20 is the fact that it has Rotax valves. So that is Swiss technology from the company Wilson, which Eastman, who's also the parent company of Shires, purchased about a year ago. And they've implemented these Swiss valves into this new Shires Q series French horn line. I actually took some pictures this time. I took the valve apart and took some pictures to kind of see what makes the Rotax special. And it's basically just a normal valve with one exception here. The ports on the valve that you see here on screen are very, very large. And what it does is that instead of constricting the air when it's going through the valves, it allows 100% of the air to move through. And I noticed that it does make a big difference in the blow of the horn. I wouldn't think it would have made a big difference, but it really does. And these valves are also just machined really well. So they're very light and they're very quick. But in case you were wondering what the Rotax valves look like on the inside, that is what they look like. The Hans Hoyer, I don't think that really has any particularly special features on it, but it is just kind of a solid standard Geyer style horn. One of the things to watch out for on the G10 is the size of the wrap. So it's just a really, really big circle, bigger than even most other large wrap Geyer style horns that you may, that you may be familiar with. This can make the G10 a little tricky to hold for smaller people, and it can also make finding a case for it pretty difficult. A lot of standard cases, including a lot of the standard Marcus Bonnet cases, do not fit the Hans Hoyer G10 well. The Shires Q20 is a much smaller standard wrap. It's larger than a Crispa style wrap, but this horn should fit in most cases. The Now Hans Hoyer G10 is made in Germany, in Markneukirchen, Germany. It it's lacquered, and it's kind of only comes in that lacquered standard model. It's not available in an unlacquered version. While the Q20 is an unlacquered horn, and it's available lacquered or unlacquered. It's also available in fixed bell form or detachable bell form. The Hans Hoyer G10 is not available as a fixed bell. It is only a screw bell. The cases that they come with is a big differentiator. So I'm just going to be honest. I'm not a big fan of the Hans Hoyer G10 case. It's pretty big and pretty bulky. So you might think it's like a Marcus Bonin case because it's the same general shape of a Marcus Bonin MB5, but it's a lot thicker here. And we've been selling these horns for a while, and just to be honest, the way the case holds up, it's not one of its strong points. The horn is very good, but the case not so much. And for all of that extra size on the case, you don't get a lot of extra functionality. So you have a place for the horn to sit, you have some mouthpiece pockets, and you have a couple of small accessory cubbies here. But there's no room for any additional mutes or anything up in this case. You just have a cutout from where the bell sits. Now, I understand the logic of this case. I have a feeling that the the G10s and all of Hans Hoyer's other horns are very safe in transport in this case, especially when shipping. But it's just not the most. It's not the best case, for actual use. The SE Shires case here is also shaped like a Marcus Bonin knockoff. This one is a copy of the Marcus Bonin MB5 Baby 2. I mean, they didn't say that, but it's clearly very much a very similar case. The feel of it's pretty high quality. This is a pretty new horn, so I do not know about the longevity of this case, but it looks and feels like it shouldn't have any problems in that area. I haven't picked up a Marcus Bonin MB5 Baby 2 and picked it up compared to this, but this case, it's definitely feels heavier than you would expect a Marcus Bonin case to be. It's also missing some things that you'd find on a Marcus Bonin case, particularly the music pouch that would normally be at the back here. Similar style of straps, although the straps themselves, the case feels fairly high quality. The straps themselves don't feel too high quality to me. But I still think this is a decent case. And the reason why is that this case has places for 2 mutes. So you can fit the horn in here, and you can fit 2 mutes, and you have the pouch for the bell, place for your the horn to go, a mouthpiece pouch with Velcro attached, and an accessories cubby here. So aside from music, and that's not to mention the accessories pouch here on the top. So aside from music, you can get almost everything else that you need to carry with you inside of this case. So as far as OEM horn cases go, I would put this in the top tier. Probably the only one that, at least that I'm thinking of, the only one that I like better is Conn-Selmer's new faux leather wrapped case. It's feels a little lighter than this one, and it just looks really, really good. Not that this one is bad looking, but that con case is really good looking. Let me check chat and see if there have been any questions so far. Okay, we have one from Jeremy Kuko. Without a doubt, the Shire sounds more consistent and fuller. I have no doubt it would blend in more sections much better. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Of course, picking a horn and sound and all that has a lot to do with personal taste. So I know many people would prefer the sound of the G10 over the Shires, but yeah, I think I prefer the sound of the Shires over the G10. So let's just go through the spec list for each horn, since this is a French horn. I forgot what I labeled it. French horn comparison. I used to label them French horn shootouts, and I still want to say that. But, you know, with some of the violence that's been going on lately, I've decided that that's probably not the best term to label these comparisons with. So taking a look here. Medium bell throat, yellow brass construction, Rotax valves. Oh, that's one thing. The structure of the Q20 is unique for mass-produced horns, but I really like it. So the Q20 has a long solder bead here, soldering the lead pipe to the bell tail. These three tubes, oh, I probably need to switch the camera. So the Q20 has a long soldered joint here, attaching the lead pipe to the bell tail. Also, these tubes here, the this F branch here and the first branch are soldered together, and the first branch is then also soldered to the bell tail down here. And we have a solder joint along this F branch to the first branch along here. So the reason why I like this kind of structure of horn is that I feel that it makes the tubes kind of vibrate together as one unit. So you feel the horn vibrating in your hand a bit more, and you kind of get some more resonance. You'll see this kind of structure in a lot of super high-end custom makers, you know, the Medlins and the Rauchs of the world. Those kind of joints can be very hard to do cleanly. So on a lot of mass-produced horns, they end up being braced off. Although that's not necessarily a disadvantage, because a lot of German makers, high-end German makers like Engelbert Schmid and Rico Kuhn, also brace off those parts. But they brace off those parts to make the horn lighter and easier to play, rather than, you know, bracing it off for practical reasons. The G10 is also soldered along the lead pipe here. It doesn't start farther up, but it is just an open gap, and then it's soldered here. On the G10, this F branch is soldered. Well, no, it's not actually. So the F branch and the first branch are separate here. And then you can see the first branch here is braced onto the bell tail with these three braces versus being soldered. And then this F branch here is completely braced off of the first branch. Now, I should be careful. I know the way I phrased that made it really sound like, hey, all those parts being soldered together is objectively better. than having it soldered together, and that's not true. It definitely affects the way the horn feels and the way the horn plays, and I personally find that I tend to like horns that solder all those parts together more, but it is not that is not an objective measure of quality. Different people will like different styles of horn and different playing characteristics, so there are going to be lots of people who prefer the horns that are more that are constructed in a more braced off manner versus kind of soldered together in one unit. Okay, let me check it. Chat here. The Hoyer valves, are they made by Hoyer or are they Meinl Schmidt? I imagine Shires Rotex valves are Eastman's own. The Hoyer valves, as far as I know, are made by Hoyer. Hoyer valves used to be made by Kine, but, well, I'd say they used to be made by Kine, but from what I understand, and if I am incorrect in this, someone please jump in and correct me, that Kine used to work for Hoyer and then split off on his own. But the Hoyer valves are made by Hoyer. Yeah, these Shires Rotax valves, well, I guess, yeah, you could call them, they're made by Eastman now because Eastman owns Wilson, which owns the Rotax valves themselves. I am unsure as to where the Rotax valves are being produced. I don't know if they are still being produced in Switzerland or if Eastman has moved them to one of their other factories. My guess is that they're probably being made in Boston, but it could be in China or another country. Either way, I don't really worry about it too much. In my opinion, I find that the origin of a part or origin of a horn is not as important as many people make it out to be. Good quality products can be made anywhere, and crappy products can be made anywhere. And I've seen crappy products from all parts of the world, including from countries that are known for their quality and craftsmanship. And I've seen great quality products from every part of the world, including countries that are supposedly making inferior stuff. Okay. So the Q series just comes with standard stuff, comes with a mouthpiece. Both horns come with a mouthpiece. I really recommend that you not use the mouthpiece that comes in the box. A mouthpiece is something that should be customized to your personal embouchure and style of playing. So just using a standard mouthpiece that's in the box, I think, would always be a bad idea. Yeah, that's about it. 12 millimeter bore on the Q20. The Hoyer actually has 11.9 millimeter bore. Being German made, I would have guessed it would have been a 12 millimeter bore, but I imagine they're probably trying to, a horn like the G10 is obviously being made for the American market. So they're probably trying to harken back to the standard American board that, old Geyers and Cons and Houghtons will be made with, which is 11.9. And custom makers, they're all over the place. Some use 11.9, some use 12 millimeters, some use 12.1. Okay, so I think that is it for the French horn comparison. Check one last time for any chats. And I see no requests for other excerpts. Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining me once again. If you keep watching, I'll keep making these. And if you have any suggestions for how these videos could be improved, please go ahead and let me know in the comments. I will see you guys again next Thursday with I don't know if I'm going to do a French horn comparison. We have a couple of Schmidt Vienna horns in the shop right now. So I'm really tempted to do a video all about Vienna horn. If you're interested in that, again, let me know. Thank you very much. Goodbye, everyone.